Um, Next up, we're going to have a little panel, which is always fun because it's a lot of people, hopefully not talking, how do you say this, like at the same time, but they will be moderated by Antonio Gonzalo. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Antonio is a tech entrepreneur and was working in Telefonica. I think that's the Spanish telephone operator. He was working in Telefonica's R&D department for 10 years. He's running product management for emerging technologies and is now managing operations at Swarm. And he also runs the Ethereum community in Madrid, and that's my favorite destination, except for my home in Antwerp. So Antonio, I'm so happy to at least be a little bit in Madrid by hearing you talk. So please take it away with the panel.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Church for presenting the paper, and kudos to all the contributors to make that a reality. So today's panel will be to talk about with some brave visionaries who are using already Swarm to unlock a fair data economy businesses and applications in the application world. You've just heard some beautiful talks about data and some amazing demos, but the starting point to really make an impact visible is here in applications, in real use cases, and and making it reality in the real world. And this is a path that, well, we all have to walk through, so this is why we are creating this working group called Swarm Enterprise Hub to collaborate and push further together. So this afternoon, I'm delighted to present you a panel of 4 participants to talk about all this. I will introduce them in alphabetical order because it's always fair, which is, first of all, I'd like to introduce Alexander Partin, which is the Chief Privacy Counsel of MidHub, working on the project of building an SSI platform, member of International Association of Privacy Professionals, and 15 years experience in legal profession. Alexander, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi colleagues.
Hello. We have as well Chert Adlin, who you just saw with the background in statistics, enabling fair data economy on the data fund project since its inception. He's also part of the research efforts in the Swarm team. Chert, hello.
Hi, hello.
We have as well Danik Thakrisson, CEO and co-founder at ScaleOut, creating a federated and decentralized machine learning system, and recipient, by the way, of one of our first grants. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, hello. Good to be here.
Nice to have you here. And finally, last but not least, we have Dixon Su, who is a software engineer at Fujitsu Limited, chief evangelist of Personium, which is the only open source personal data store platform in Japan. And currently he's leading the global My Data movement with Fujitsu. Hello, Dixon. Nice to have you here, and thank you for the effort.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you guys. It's already a bit late over there. Okay, so first and foremost, and so that everybody hears a bit more of you, I would like you to ask each participant for a brief description of the project you're working on and how do you using Swarm to help achieve your objectives. So Dixon, since you're on the screen, if you want to start, for instance.
Yes, as you just announced that I work for Fujitsu, and the Personium here, it's the open source product that created by Fujitsu, and we're asking for people who can help us out. And basically, we provide the proof of concept for clinics and like financial background or advertising industry, like huge industry in Japan. And also currently, we are kind of working with Vasto Group in Helsinki project, in the City of Helsinki project. And we think that with Swarm, because we don't want to create all the things, reinvent the wheels. So with Swarm, we can kind of achieve storage interoperability quickly. So instead of doing our own stuff, we can do storage and give all the things to Swarm, and then we can kind of concentrate on permission management on the PDS. And also, I think it aligned with the My Data Operators ideas that it has to be interoperable with all different levels. So we will kind of off-shoulder our development to Swarm so that it will take care of it himself. And then we kind of concentrate only on the part that we're good at, like permissions and also building the infrastructure and everything else. So thank you for inviting me, Stuart. Thanks.
It's a pleasure.
That's all.
Thank you. Daniel, if you want to keep on with the talk.
Yeah, sure. So we are in machine learning, and machine learning is really about learning from data. So the problem we're working with is that most companies, they cannot use the data they already have. Mainly there are privacy concerns. There are also regulatory constraints that we'll probably talk more about. And there are also many practical issues like just bandwidth or network access or many other things.
Mm-hmm.
So we are developing a solution for federated learning. And in federated learning, what you do is you move the training of machine learning models to where the data is. So you avoid collecting all data in one place. And this solves what we usually call the data access challenge in AI. And we're using this technology today in companies such as AstraZeneca. We're working with GE Healthcare that is now called Cytiva, and with Swiss Airlines as well. And what we're working towards is really about enabling machine learning, I would say, in a Web3 world where compute and data is distributed. So, and the first problem where we are using Swarm right now is to enable trust and collaboration in something we call federated learning alliances. And that is, how do you get different participants together to collaborate, even if they don't maybe fully trust each other? And so the path that we're going towards right now, sort of the path of least resistance, is to use open source software so that everyone can audit code fully. But then we're also using Swarm-based audit trails so that everyone can fully follow the process of training one of these collaborative machine learning models, so that there's a really an audit trail or a track record over everything that happened, even if everyone does not have full insight into the training process of these machine learning models. So that's sort of where we are right now. And then we're moving towards like a more and more decentralized system.
Very interesting. I got a question for you, but I'll go for that afterwards. Well, not just one, but that's all right. So then, Alexander, please, if you want to speak about MidHub and what's its mission and how do you use Swarm, please.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, same as Swarm, MidHub platform aims at bringing back to the person the real control over his or her personal data, and in such a way that the person has a high quality and safe tool to provide the companies with the personal data on a temporary basis for different purposes. The MidHub main concept, I mean the user's control over the personal data and its secure processing, actually became possible only with the development of blockchain, smart contracts, cryptography, and in particular Swarm as a secure and reliable decentralized storage of personal data. We build MidHub on the basis of trust and transparency. So the source code for all our key platform applications will be actually open after the public beta, and it will be open for analysis and collaboration. But at the same time, the platform participants won't need to rely on trust only, as the smart contracts will guarantee on our platform that all the processes work in accordance with rules. One of the feature of MidHub would be that the personal data which were uploaded to MidHub by the users will actually be verified by the special validators. And this also should increase the level of trust to this data from the companies which obtain consent from the users for its processing. And actually, besides, it also solves the KYC task for the companies and users in a fair, secure, and more efficient way. As a lawyer and a privacy counsel, I should say that the platform, same as Swarm, is developed with the privacy by design principle in mind, meaning that we closely look on compliance with personal data rules and in particular GDPR. And we aim at building a decentralized global system of document management, which is free from third-party impact and is entrusted with blockchain technology and digital signatures. Thanks.
Very cool. And finally, Chert, if you'd like to present just briefly what DataFound is and the goal of the project. Chert, we're muted.
Yes, hi, hello, thank you. So I think the Data Fund was already presented at previous events, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, we're also all about privacy and enabling similar things as all the rest of the projects. We also contributed with code to the Fair Data Society with the federal projects, and we are avid supporters of the initiative. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's talk about business. I'm sure you've already heard the sentence. If you're not, well, just Michelle just started to talk with that. If you're not paying, you're the product being sold. This is a problem of incentives. Again, as we all know, we have been selling our data, our privacy, basically our freedom, very cheap, arguably very cheap, to a few companies. And the paradigm has become so big that we actually consciously have to make efforts to avoid being tracked. So the question is, are business models sustainable without our data being taken from us? To put it another way, how can a small app, how can a small developer create a strategic advantage with data against behemoths such as Google or Facebook? Who wants to answer this? It's about business models.
Maybe I could just start with this. So there's an initiative of the European Union. Actually, the European Union has a data strategy, which was released. The document was released at the beginning of this year, and the data strategy is talking about data spaces. So the European Union imagines that these vertical data spaces will be established. For example, one of them will be a skills data space, one of them will be a health data space, and so on. And in these data spaces, data will flow freely, as is labor and materials flowing through the European Union. You know, the same principle would apply, and anyone could, I mean, not anyone, but companies could join and leverage the data in there to bootstrap this equal opportunity for all companies. So I think this is an idea that we have to embrace. They have given us a hand, and we have to enable this with Swarm. Swarm is, of course, the perfect platform to do this, I believe. And maybe I can now stop and give someone else the opportunity to talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Chert. Yes, Daniel?
Yeah, so I can jump in, and I absolutely think that it's possible to find business models without having our data taken from us. And it's in a way that's really how we approach this. So what we are doing is we're enabling how you really monetize learnings of data, not actually selling the data itself. So that's kind of one path that's possible to take. That's what we're doing. But I also don't think that it's quite important to think that it's not viable to think that I can create a small app, or as a private person, I will be able to monetize my data, and like Facebook or Google, they should give me a lot of money, because in those cases, for us individually, there is not that much data for each of us. So I think that what we might land in, so where data maybe covers the infrastructure costs, that's maybe where we are in some of these like mass market applications. Not maybe that we should think or expect to be rich from like the personal data that we're generating. If we're not generating personal data in a small niche that has a really high potential value. And then the question is, how do we monetize or also take part of that value without selling all of our data or selling all of ourselves in that way? So that's something to think about. And just one small last thing, and that also how do we get started? So I don't think a small app developer should go out and start to try to compete with Google, like even if TikTok did that. But what we should do is maybe find a niche where you don't have to go head to head, at least not initially. You have to find something else to start with. And then you can maybe move on as you build a much more like bigger product or bigger user base, and maybe generate larger potential base of learnings if it's not a larger potential base of data.
I see.
So that's how it.
And interoperability is at the heart of all that, I can imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Interoperability and also infrastructure, because the less infrastructure, the less time and effort you have to spend on like rebuilding all the tooling again and again. That's also like a huge driver for innovation. If you just can focus on the sort of the value layer on top, you don't have to build all the infrastructure layers. There is also just you're shortening the development time and also the possibility to create new models.
Absolutely, that's always a pain. Actually, this is the beauty of the concept that Swarm has enabled, the zero-cost hosting. That is this really breakthrough. It's something that is not really easy to grasp at the beginning, but the idea of you have an economic model for a developer where the infrastructure generates revenues, not costs, is something that we haven't seen yet. Actually, haven't seen yet. So, what do you think for developers, for people who wants to? What sort of opportunity does that open, the zero-cost hosting? And I'm asking for the four of you. Maybe I will start pointing. maybe Dixon, who are actually putting some special highlights on that for Personium. How do you see the zero-cost hosting opening opportunities?
I think basically it's because Swarm help developer to do something without big investment in the first place, right? So everyone can have just a smaller Swarm B node started, and then afterwards they can build up whatever they have. And also it's kind of connected to whatever the first question you asked to, because initially we cannot just go in and then build Swarm node for everyone. The government has to build the infrastructure first to promote the personal data store or personal data, so that tax money will be spent to provide the whole infrastructure first, and then the citizen will start to using this kind of like idea of keeping their data onto personal data store and then try to reuse it with interesting service or interesting applications. So with the zero-cost hosting, like it helps the developer to concentrate on building interesting services, just to make good use of the data, but without selling it to someone else. So then the user will keep on using it because it's good, and then it will spread out to have like globally that everyone will be using things like decentralized Swarm node. That's what I think.
Awesome. Actually seeing the demos that we've seen this afternoon, I cannot see why it's not going to happen. I mean, I see that already on its path to happen. It's awesome. Okay, so let's talk now about regulation. And I would like to ask the participants, because we're lucky to have a global panel, truly a global panel. We are from different parts of the world, and regulation is different all around the globe. As Chert mentioned before, the EU is making some specific efforts with data spaces, trying to gather all the GDPR, all the regulation is European, but from other EU3 that come from different parts of the world, how regulation is treating data in Russia, in Japan, or anywhere, or the US, for instance?
Well, yeah, I think I would start as a lawyer. So basically, my view is that the GDPR, which is the European law on protection of the personal data, is currently the most advanced. And mostly it's because GDPR puts the person in the center of its interest, the data subject. And that's why actually, like the project I'm working on, the MidHub project, the Swarm, in the white paper, we analyzed the GDPR as a reference point of the law. And also, like coming back to the first question, why the like behemoths like Google, Facebook, can we actually fight and win over them? I think yes, because currently the people think that giving away the personal data is okay, but actually the GDPR and most of the laws says completely different thing. Mm-hmm. The companies should process the data only as far as it needs to be. And it's just, the status quo, the current status quo, that companies simply skip this question. So as soon as we implemented using a technology like Swarm, it will actually be the new reality. And I'm looking forward to this Dream protocol, which the MeetHub team is also collaborating on. I think it should bring this reality down.
Awesome. Yeah, that's true. Thank you. Thank you, Alexander. I think that I've heard that Japan is leading the field in this regulation on so-called information banking industry. Is it true, Dixon? How do you see it evolve?
Like basically, in Japan, we don't have any heavy punishment. Most of the time, it's just a slap on the hand that the company, when they do something wrong, they will be maybe out of business for a few weeks, and then they can restart the business. Last time, we have some company who's selling analyzed data about job hunters, and then they will show them, it will show to the employers that this guy will be most likely to turn down your offer. So then it will avoid the people of getting the offer from many employers properly. So, but in the end, the company just closed down for a few weeks and then it will start. So the thing would be like in Japan, we always copy the laws from Europe and then US. And when everything is almost ready, then we launch our own law that customized into the Japanese culture. So basically with the information banking, initially it's kind of thing of selling the data and then telling the citizen that they can make money or whatever. But now it has been there for almost 2 years, but we don't see any like big movement anymore. So then the citizen has already forget about making money by selling their data. So recently, there's been a kind of a momentum that the municipal will create service to actually improve the well-being of the citizens. So they're kind of turning their solutions to the European way. And also, I heard that the guy who, not the guy, but the organization who create the certificate for the information banking, they're trying to learn something from the MyData operators, and then they're trying to collaborate and then to produce some kind of better solutions, and then learning from the European GDPR and also MyData. So definitely, from Asia's point of view, we always like try to learn things and then try to like do customizations. So right now, even though we're leading the idea of business model of information banking, but still everything is still important from the Europe, and especially with the EU data strategy. So that's from what I see.
Thank you so much. Okay, so unfortunately, I think we have run out of time. So I would like to thank all your participants for this brief talk. It was really insightful to hear you talk about how you implement Swarm into your products. And let's go head back to Michel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you for this international team, and thank you, Antonio. And I can't wait to see you in Madrid when this whole virus thing is over. I'm sure we can have some really great tapas somewhere on a terrace in El Noviciado.
Count on that.
Thank you so much. So with this, we can round up our enterprise